It's like it's a little sweater talk. That is life-giving. But wait, something else is missing. There we go. That is much better. We needed a sweater because it's a knitting channel, right? Am I right? I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited as usual to be sitting down chatting all the knitting with you. I really don't like doing intros because I never know what to say. I always get tongue-tied, and anyway, just know that I'm so happy to be sitting down chatting all the knitting with you and hope you're here for it. So if you are, welcome to my little corner of the interwebs. Gather around, grab a cup of something, and let's get into things. All right, let's talk FOs because, my friends, I have a finished object to share with you, finally. And last week I shared that I was finally binding off on my CALLA shawl, a lovely pattern by Natasja Hornby, and as promised, as predicted, I am done with my CALLA shawl. Eee, look how huge this thing is, guys. When I blocked it, it just grew exponentially. It is massive, and I will stand up so you can see. Look at that. It is so beautiful. I'm so smitten with it. I haven't worn it out yet because I really just wanted to preserve the crispness of it after it's all blocked and finished. It's all nice and flat, and I wanted to show that off on the channel for you guys so you could see it. And I did do a little photo shoot in my backyard, posted it on Instagram, posted it on Ravelry. It's all done. It's all finished. So now I can get all bunched up with this shawl. What do you want to call it? Anyway, I can just wear it and enjoy it and not worry if it gets a little crinkled. But oh my goodness, you guys, this shawl is so soft. The yarn, I mean, you're probably sick and tired of hearing me wax poetic about this yarn, but La Mana Como, let me tell you, this yarn is absolutely delightful. It is 100% superfine merino. It's a heather gray colorway, as you can see, and I'm just so smitten with this yarn. I seriously want to knit a full-on sweater with this yarn. Maybe it's because I took a break from the holidays and just had a whole block of time to work on this, but this project literally flew off the needles. I cranked it out. It was definitely a labor of love towards the end because when you're working with over, I want to say 400 stitches, doing all those little cables and rib stitch, it gets a little tedious, not gonna lie, but I had Netflix, I had YouTube to keep me company, and really just kind of plowed right through it. This pattern was originally featured in Lina magazine, I believe issue 7, but yeah, this has been on my Ravelry queue ever since that issue came out, and so glad that I finally got to knit it. And yeah. And once again, I completely forget to talk about what I'm wearing. This is the Stripes Pullover, a pattern by Andrea Mowry, knit in my own hand-dyed yarns, Voolenvine yarns, in several different colorways. So this first colorway right here, the shaded black, is my Grim colorway, obviously one of my favorite colorways that I dye. It's black, it goes with everything. And then we have Courtesan, which is kind of like a corally, speckled, peachy pink, and then below that right here, this golden mustard color is a colorway called By Candlelight. I haven't dyed it in a while, but I think it's time that I reintroduce it, so stay tuned, hold that thought. And then down here is another colorway called Tiptoe, which is another colorway that I've been meaning and wanting to dye. It's just a very light, dusty pink, I want to say, with very subtle flecks of yellow and brown. But I haven't been able to dye this colorway because the website that I buy my acid dyes from has been out of stock in a particular acid dye that I used to dye this colorway for quite some time. I've been stalking their site forever, and they have not restocked this one particular acid dye. I think it has to do with the pandemic, with shipping and whatnot. Anyway, once it's back in stock, I'm going to jump on that like wildfire and dye a batch of Tiptoe up for you guys. But yeah, this is my Stripes Pullover, as I mentioned. Easily one of my favorite FOs. It's just such a casual, fun sweater. And yet another project that pretty much flew off the needles because yeah, it's just a simple stockinette sweater knit in the round. And the fact that you're knitting stripes, you know, it's just, you know, it's potato chippy. You just want just one more potato chip, just one more row, just one more stripe. So yeah, if you are looking for a potato chippy autopilot knit, look no further, my friends. This was a good one. All right, moving along to works in progress. Last week I said I had grand plans to reverse engineer the sweater from the movie Don't Look Up. I did knit a swatch, even though I'm usually anti-swatch, I avoid swatches like the plague. This is a special case where, again, I'm reverse engineering a pattern. I'm, you know, creating it from scratch by observing another pattern. So I made up a chart. It's actually available on my Ravelry project page for this project. You can click on the link and access the chart that I made for free. And then I gathered my materials. I got my yarn. I'm using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Superwash in 3 different colorways. This is their Rouge colorway, which is a little more hot pink than the original, but it, you know, it's more of like a passion fruit hot pink. But even though the original is more of like a lighter, more delicate pink, the hot pink, guys, I don't know, it was calling to me. And then for the main color, I'm using persimmon. Every time I see this word, I think it says persimmon, but it's actually persimmon or persimmon. How do you pronounce it?
Persimmon.
This is what I'm using for the main color. And then I know in the last episode I said I was going to swap the black out for Bittersweet Heather, but over the weekend, I did make a trip to Target. Dennis and I, just had to run a couple of errands and popped over to Target. And lo and behold, I saw the sweater just hanging there on a rack. They had one more left. And I was praying. I was hoping. As I walked over there, I'm like, please do not be in my size. Please do not be in my size, because this project would have just been scrapped. I'm lying, guys. I don't think I would have been able to scrap this project. I was already in it. I was already dedicated. But I did walk over to it anyway, just to look at it, to take notes. And, it was actually 3 sizes too large anyway. So, but I did notice that the darker color was indeed black. So even though I'm still waiting on the Bittersweet Heather to come, I was just glad that I had this on hand so I could just cast on and get on with the project. And Bob's your uncle. So those are the colorways that I'm using. And here is the swatch that I knit up. Look how teeny tiny it is. It's like a teeny tiny cowl. I got to see how the colorways play together. I got my gauge and I got to do all the maths to make sure that the actual sweater is going to fit me. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will actually fit me. But once the swatch was all done, it's all blocked. I should also mention that I knit this in the round. It's a little more work, but so worth it because the actual sweater is knit in the round. If I were to knit this flat, well, first of all, it might be a little complicated because there's color work involved, but I wouldn't get the actual gauge. So there were no shortcuts. Just took a day, made a swatch, and again, got my gauge and proceeded, are you ready for this? To cast on the sweater. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a little bunched up here, but oh guys, this is making me so stinking happy. I just love the way that this is knitting up, guys. And yeah, you might notice that it's a little extra floofy because I'm holding the contrasting colors, the hot pink and the black, together with some floof. Yes, this is also by Knit Picks. This is their Aloft base, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, lace weight, silk, and mohair. Maybe alpaca. I have to double check the label, but it's very, very floofy. It's very akin to my Ghost Lace base, which I haven't dyed in a long time. And I know I said that I was kind of, taking a break from mohair, but the knitting soul wants what the knitting soul wants. Am I right? So yeah, it's coming along. And the one thing I'm kind of regretting is when I knit the swatch, I did not hold the yarn together with the mohair. So the gauge might be a little bit off. I'm kind of wishing that I went up a needle size. I'm using a US size 6, 4mm to knit the yoke, but I think once it's blocked, it'll stretch out a little bit. It's not terrible. It's not like the yoke can stand up on its own. It's not that dense, but it'll just be a little extra warm in the chest area, which is important. It's important because, your chest, when it's exposed to cold air, that's the thing that gets you cold. That's the thing that causes cold. Anyway, I'm trying to rationalize the fact that this is the gauge on this is just a little too tight, but all that to say that I'm not concerned. But otherwise, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it is turning into a little bit of a slog here because I am pushing for, I'm just about at 400 stitches for the yoke area. I think I have a couple more inches to go before I separate the sleeves. I thought that this would be a tedious process, but honestly, it's a piece of cake, guys. I'm using Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage system to calculate all the stitch counts for, you know, the body, for the sleeves, and yeah, it's just I've used her percentage system in the past to knit another sweater, and it just makes everything a piece of cake. Once you have your gauge, you can figure out your bust circumference, or you know how much ease you want in your chest. Once you have that number, it's simply just plug and play once if you go by Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage system. So I will link to that below. KnitPicks actually has a really great article that explains this really well, so definitely check that out, especially if you want to knit one of these yourself, because as I mentioned, I am providing a pattern, not an official pattern because of copyright reasons, but I am going to provide the notes and the chart, and you know, if you want to plug and play your own measurements into Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage system, by all means, go for it. And again, I will link to my project page on Ravelry down below. But yes, this is where I am with the, I guess we're gonna call it the Don't Look Up sweater. I know she wore many sweaters in that movie that were just absolutely divine, like the last one in the last scene, the crochet sweater. I would love to find the pattern for that. I've never knit a crochet sweater, so that would be an interesting challenge. But anyway, this is turning out to be a really fun project. I was a little skeptical, or not skeptical, but intimidated, dare I say, because yeah, I thought it was going to be a massive undertaking, lots of maths, but honestly, this is turning out to be a walk in the park for me, and fingers crossed it all works out well. But yeah, this look at it, it's a little sweater talk. It's been a week. So yeah, that is the Don't Look Up sweater. That's the progress. And again, you can find all of my notes, the chart, over on my Ravelry page, the project page for this project. Anyway, I am going to move on to extraterrestrial projects. Oh goodness, they're not extraterrestrial, guys. They're just other projects that are not knitting. So, you know, and I know many of you are here for the quilting too. So that is what we're going to move along to, quilting. And I believe I've come to a decision when it comes to my recent quilt that I'm currently working on. This is the Kensington Kaleidoscope quilt, a pattern by quiltmoments.com, and I'm blanking on her name, but I will link to where you can find this pattern down below. I'm gonna stand up so you can see it in all its glory. So here it is. It fills up the screen. There's no way I can show the whole thing in all its glory, like in one frame. So yeah, take my word for it. It is a big quilt. But last week I mentioned that I was on the fence about whether or not I should quilt it myself or send it out. Thank you so much to everybody who left their 2 cents and input and comments down below. It was a mixed bag. It was a very mixed bag, but I've decided I'm gonna send it out. Because this is a very special project to me. I put a lot of work into it, and I did go ahead and try on a practice quilt swatch to use the stencils and the pounce pad, and guys, I'm not a fan. I did not enjoy using it. First of all, chalk makes my hands feel weird. I don't know, I'm not one of those chalk people. Anyway, anytime my hand touches chalk, like I remember in school, anytime I had to, clean out erasers, or we had gymnastics class, or we had rock climbing, I hate the feel of chalk on my hands, and this was no exception. Plus the chalk was getting everywhere and not really showing up on the practice quilt that I was trying to practice on. So I'm abandoning that method and just going to send this out. But in the future, when I do quilt a project myself, I'm just going to either just stick to my stipple stitch that I did for the last one, or I don't know, they do make like these acrylic stencils that seem like they're much more manageable, and it makes it easy to follow under the machine. So yeah, I'm going to send this out to be quilted. I don't know when exactly. I think, maybe maybe next week or the following week, we'll see. But that is what's going to happen. And yes, I am aware that when I send it out, even though this is basted, I'm going to have to remove the basting pins so they can properly quilt it. So I am aware. Thank you so much for pointing that out. I'm learning so much, and I'm so surprised by how many quilters watch this channel. Yeah, it's really cool. You know, I know a lot of you are coming from knitting and crochet or what have you, that also fell down the quilting rabbit hole. But you know, it's just such a cool craft, and I'm so glad that I've finally getting it. It's finally clicking, and I love it so much, guys. I cannot tell you. As for my next quilt project, I haven't really found the next project, even though, you know, I'm still searching for the next project. But in the meantime, I decided to have a little fun and do some scrap quilting. I figured, I'm blanking on the name of this. I found it on Etsy through Pinterest. I'm blanking on the name of it, but again, a really easy pattern that uses scraps from stash. And remember this fabric? Yeah, I had a bunch of this skeleton fabric left over from a previous project, and you know, I loved it so much. Guys, I'm dark. I'm very dark, and you know, if you're new here, welcome to my world of goth. So with those scraps, I decided to fussy cut some skeletons out and frame them in some other scraps to create a border. And then here's another one. Look at that. I just have a couple blocks made up, but I'm, you know, just kind of making them as I go along. Just, you know, whenever I have time, just whipping a couple of blocks up. And here's another one. So yeah, I just have all my little scraps here in a bag. I don't think it's going to be a big quilt. It's probably just going to be like a little lap quilt. Again, it might go to Bella. I mean, I don't currently know anybody that's having a baby, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that, you know, skeletons might not be in mind, what they have in mind for a child. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, this has just been my little side scrappy quilt project that I've been working on. And yeah, I still want to tackle a crazy quilt. Those look like so much fun, guys. Yeah, so anyway, all these quilting grand plans in mind, and I've fallen down the rabbit hole. So much so that I did treat myself to, it's actually called a Sew Steady. So it's an acrylic table extension for your sewing machine, and they customize it depending on what your machine is. And it's just a table that matches your machine and extends the base of it out so you can easily quilt. It helps keep your fabric flat and you can spread out, and makes, you know, it easier to manage when you're free motion quilting. Anyway, I haven't tried it yet, although I'm very excited to take it for a whirl. Hopefully this weekend, you know, with my scrappy quilt, maybe I'll put a dent in that and see where I get with that. Who knows? But anyway, have you guys tried? Do any of you own the Sew Steady? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experience with it. All right, my friends, I am gonna end things there. Thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with me. Again, if you're new here, welcome to my tiny little corner of the interwebs. If you haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe down below. I put out videos for your viewing pleasure every week, and if you'd like to support this channel, consider becoming a member. Every week, every Monday, I put out a bonus vlog called The Monday Waffle, where I catch you up on what I got up to over the weekend, craft-wise, life-wise, and just a casual chit-chat, hanging out on Mondays. So that said, happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye!